What's up, my channel? It's your friendly neighborhood sassy blonde writer coming at you with another writing video. So a couple of weeks ago we talked about Nancy Drew, the queen of cozy mysteries, and we were just talking about the mystery genre as a whole. Now, my first introduction to the mystery genre, and this may be showing my, I guess, generation, my age a little bit, I don't know, was of course Scooby Doo. Where are you? That is what we are going to be talking about today because Scooby-Doo is interesting. I feel like it's kind of a pop culture phenomenon, so I wanted to talk about it. There's always a new iteration of it happening. If you're new to this channel, welcome to the Sassy Blonde Writing channel. I talk about different things from different types of tropes. The recent topic we've been discussing is mysteries. Subscribe if that's something you're interested in. Scooby-Doo, where are you? So Scooby-Doo is an interesting genre of mystery because it's like an even more sanitized version of cozy mystery, which is an even more sanitized version of the detective novel. There's never any death or really any violence, but there's a lot of atmosphere, which I think is why it's important to talk about when you're studying the genre of mystery. It's also good because if you're especially looking towards writing for younger ages, it's very important. Kid lit and middle grade as well, because that's generally their main demographic for Scooby-Doo. It originally started in the Saturday morning cartoon block. And because there are so many different versions of Scooby-Doo, and they all focus on the different parts of the Scooby-Doo formula so differently, it's really interesting to see which tropes that they play on. Now that we've kind of got the lowdown on the evolution of Scooby-Doo, and now there's a new Scooby-Doo that's out that I think is on, I forget which streaming services. Point being, there's always another Scooby-Doo. There's always another one, and they're always given a new spin on it, but they usually stick to pretty much the same formula. And they also generally stick to the same tropes, while following the tropes of the mystery genre in general and the conventions of that genre with red herrings and plot twists, etc., etc. You also have the following. You meddling kids! If you've ever seen an episode of Scooby-Doo, you know exactly where that one comes from. The villain claims that they would have gotten away with whatever they were planning to do if not for the protagonist. I think in literally every episode of Scooby-Doo, they say that. And definitely the first iteration of this series, they say, you meddling kids. And then I think in the subsequent series, they try to do a variation on that with the you rotten whippersnappers, you nosy so-and-so, etc., etc. This is where that trope originated, where the villain says, I would have gotten away with it if it wasn't for you. They might have. We do mystery, the police force is never exactly. The other investigators in a Scooby-Doo TV show are not exactly doing top-notch detective work. Then, of course, you have the stranger behind a mask trope. The answer to the mystery is something or someone that we've never heard of, or somebody literally behind a mask. What? This isn't so common with a stranger behind a mask, but you do see it a couple of times. And what you usually see is it's so-and-so behind the mask. You don't always see a stranger behind the mask, although it did happen in the Scooby-Doo movie that came out in the 2000s, where the person who was behind it all was Scrappy Doo, and then they have a flashback to kind of try to explain, like, oh yeah, it's Scrappy, we made him so mad that one time. And I was like, you literally didn't bring up Scrappy one time. The only reason I know who Scrappy is because I've watched the TV show before. But you didn't bring him up once. Like, that's poor storytelling. Anyway, it does come up occasionally in Scooby-Doo, but it's more the mask and less the stranger for this trope. The summation. When the detective does a speech about how they solve the mystery. So you see this a lot in a lot of mysteries. The first person who I think of does this is always Velma at the end of the episode. Sometimes Fred does. He tries to steal her thunder. We know Velma's the one who solved it, Fred. Take credit for what that woman did. But yeah, Velma always explains after they catch the bad guy. They're like, how did you know that I did it? Or the actual police officer is just like, well, shucks, kid. How did you figure it out? And Velma just goes, well, actually, it wasn't that hard once I saw their name on their costume. Or saw the name on the inside of their mask that one time or something like that. Depending on how dumb they decide to make the villain. And then of course you have the Scooby Doo Hoax. Wonder where that one's name came from. The perpetrator disguises the crime as a pair paranormal or supernatural event. Now, of course, you do see this in other mysteries, but I mean, it's called the Scooby Doo Hoax for a reason. There are several Nancy Drew, like, her interactive games where somebody is, like, pretending that a ghost or, like, a haunting event is happening, but it's actually them, like, trying to scare people off the property. But, like, yeah, it's called the Scooby Doo Hoax for a reason because it's way more common in Scooby Doo where like, somebody's pretending it was a monster, but it's actually a person pretending to be a monster, a person pretending to be a ghost, a person pretending to be a zombie, pretending they were attacked by a zombie, a person pretending they were cloned, a person pretending their pet was possessed. Need I go on? The only one plausible suspect trope. The identity of the culprit is obvious to the viewers. This was definitely more common in the most current one that I watched, Mystery Incorporated, because a lot of the episodes it's like, well, yeah, the only person it could be is this person. Why would it be anybody else? And then I remember because my friends and I were watching it for fun, and they would be like, no, that one's too obvious. I'm like, guys, this is literally made for kids. It's okay if it's obvious for us, we're adults. So only one plausible suspect is definitely more common in kidlit, because kidlit, a lot of times these types of stories are literally their introduction to the mystery genre. So you do want them to be able to kind of follow along so they can learn the conventions. A lot of times in the summation is when the detective reveals that there was only one plausible suspect. The signature item clue. A distinctive item means that someone must have put it there, and that's a clue. I remember there's like one episode of What's New Scooby-Doo where somebody's trying to frame someone else, so that's a signature item clue. It's like the theme park one where they like put their sister's wrench out to frame their sister, and was like, well, it has to be them because their wrench was out, and then the thing broke, so it has to be them. And then Velma says in the summation, no, it had to be you. You were the only plausible suspect because the signature item clue was too obvious that it was clear it was a setup. So signature item clues can be for setups where the actual culprit puts something there to frame another person, but it can also be because somebody else maybe was involved with the crime, knows the main person that did it, and feels guilty and tries to leave breadcrumbs for the detective. You can use that trope either way. A lot of times in Scooby-Doo, in like cozy mysteries, it's usually used to frame another person as a red herring. Twist ending. I think I might have mentioned this in my first video on Mystery Trope, which I will link to down below. Twist ending is where plot leads one way, then something happens at the end, which changes everything. I mean, like, it's a mystery, you kind of have to have a plot twist, right? But I think my favorite plot twist in a mystery would have to be Scooby-Doo on Zombie Island, where 1, the monsters are real, 2, the zombies that you thought were trying to kill you are actually trying to save you, and the people that you thought were the good guys are actually trying to sacrifice you so they can have eternal life. What? I watched that recently as an adult just for fun, and I still didn't see it coming. I also think I've had nightmares as a child, and I blocked out that movie, so I didn't even remember what happened in it when I rewatched it recently. And then, of course, you have the mysterious stranger, a recurring character who isn't known to the others, and who's deliberately set up to be an enigma. This is all over Mystery Incorporated, where you have somebody in the first season, they keep sending them like letters after they solve a mystery, and to kind of help with the overarching plot of the story. And there's like magic and time stuff involved, and references to Twin Peaks. A lot of times in mysteries, the mysterious stranger will either show up and just like kind of say something mysterious or enigmatic to protagonists, and they're just like, what? Or they'll send them like letters like, congratulations on solving that case. Now can you solve who I am? Can you solve this bigger, grander, overarching mystery? And of course, my last trope for this video will be Mystery of the Week, where the protagonists solve a mystery in every episode because, hello, it's Scooby-Doo. That's literally the entire show. That's all I've got for you today, folks. If you enjoyed this video, please make sure you give it a thumbs up. If there are any mystery tropes that you really enjoy that I missed, please list them in the comments below. And of course, happy writing.